Yes, all right, everyone. So now we'll be moving on to our second talk in this 2 day event, Heal Thyself, which deals with self-esteem and body positivity activities. This is being organized by an NGO called Magic Shop, whose founders are Ruhee Contractor and Sachi Mulki. The term magic shop stems from a technique in psychodrama, a type of psychotherapy, where you exchange your fears for a positive value. Magic Shop is a mental health service which aims for the inclusive and holistic development of the individual and of society. From Bollywood references to themes inspired by the Indian sitcom Khichdi, memes, puns, they try to simplify the concept of mental health for their audiences. They're going to attempt today to destigmatize mental health and encourage people to better mental health allies and seek help whenever needed. So their founders Ruhi ma'am and Sachi ma'am, they've completed their postgraduate studies in MSc Clinical Psychology and are currently based in Mumbai. They facilitated workshops for various age groups in the past and are extremely passionate advocates of mental health. You can find them on Instagram at magicshop.psych, where they post all of their content. And over to you all, ma'am. We look forward to a very entertaining and insightful session. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So I think we'll just share our screen before we begin. Okay, so thank you so much for joining in for today's session. I am Sachi, and just two things before we start. Any questions that you may have during the session, you can just make a note of it and we'll be answering it at the end. Secondly, we really hope this is going to be an interactive discussion, and we really hope to hear your stories, your point of views. And at the same time, we'd also like you to keep in mind that stories that are shared within the circle, it'll be really nice if we keep it within, because we'd really like to hear a lot of your stories and your opinions. So this is more like a safe space today, the next 1 hour, where you can share your stories related to the topic of today's session, and it'll be nice if you can keep it within the circle. So starting with a little bit about us, so Magic Shop is a mental health service which aims to create awareness about mental health, and we really try to debunk stigmas surrounding mental illness through a lot of videos and podcasts and content that we constantly post on social media. So we try to use a lot of references from Bollywood and like a lot of Indian sitcoms and memes and puns to really help people understand mental health better, to encourage them to be better mental health allies, because that we believe is pretty much a need of today's times. So a little introduction about us. So I'm Sachi, and I'm a psychologist. I have completed my postgrad in clinical psychology, and I have a background in forensics. But I'm really passionate about mental health and having conversations about mental illness, mental health, and really encouraging people to sort of normalize the idea of seeking help or seeking therapy. Apart from that, I absolutely love poetry and chai. So that's about me. Over to you,
Hello
Ruhee.
everybody. Hello everybody. My name is Ruhee Contractor, and as you can see, again, even I'm a psychologist, and I really have a passion for psychology as well as sociology. I love learning perspectives, and looking at different point of views. Love talking about sustainability, feminism, anything of that sort. Another very important thing is I love food, all kind of junk food maybe. And also I have been following K-pop and K-drama since pretty much like 5 to 6 years. So my entire life has changed because of that. And that is pretty much a little bit about ourselves. So moving on now to the topic for today, where we'll be looking at these terms, right? So we've heard these terms: self-esteem, body image, body positivity. I'm just going to briefly touch upon them, what they mean, so that we don't have confusion while moving forward, and we can understand how they are basically related to each other. So let's start with self-esteem. Once we understand, self-esteem is basically the evaluation we have about our own selves. So the evaluation, either positive or negative, about our own worth. Now, this includes each and everything. This includes all of our lives and all of the evaluations we make about our own selves, about our own capabilities. Body image, if you go to see, is just one small part of our self-esteem, but still a very important part, which is an evaluation we make about our appearances, about our body. And again, they can be positive as well as negative. Now, body positivity is basically this term that came into existence, and it was a very big moment which started. So, this is basically understanding how each and every body has to be accepted, irrespective of whatever is the ideal norm in society, which means that each and every body is healthy, and positive body image is a right for everybody. Now, this does not only include people of different sizes and shapes. It also includes people from different races, ethnicities, sexualities, gender. So, what we're trying to make is a more holistic development of society as well as mental health. Now, we look at a little bit of detail as to how all of these are related and how they basically enhance or decrease our mental well-being. So, somebody is having fun with the law. So moving on to healthier body image. Now, if we understand what is a healthy body image, the idea here is that somebody, and in order to develop a body image, these are some of the things that we need to keep in mind. The idea is accept yourself for who you are, accept your body with all your flaws. Change the change that is necessary for healthy development, not to fit into some space, not to fit into the society's ideal type, but change for the betterment of your own self. Which qualities here means that we are more than our bodies, we are more than just our appearances, we are more than just the space. We have so many different qualities and strengths, and I think our workshop will also focus on these things today to help us understand how we are more than just our bodies, and also resist this social pressure, basically resisting this pressure of fitting in again. So if you can go to see, they're all again connected into this one big dimension of moving away from the ideal and being more realistic and more true to yourself. Okay, so moving on to what are these relationships that I was talking about. So if you go to see, if we see self-esteem as this big little or this big cloud that we have, right? And in this big cloud, we have the ideas about ourselves. So I'm worthy, I'm capable, and I respect myself. These are just some thoughts that we have. Now we move on to the smaller cloud, which this bigger cloud will affect. So self-esteem can affect our body image. Where, for example, if you have a higher self-esteem or a positive self-esteem, then your body image will also be, I'm comfortable with the way I look, I'm in tune with what my body needs, and I know that my looks have nothing to do with my other abilities that I have, right? I am way more than that. Now, if you can see, these both factors play a very important role in even determining our mental health, which is a very important part of our entire health system as well as our well-being, right? So at this point of time, if you are in tune with self-esteem and body image, our mental health kind of goes like this. I know that I can work with my problems, I can deal with my life, I can handle disappointments. I know I'm not perfect, but it's okay, and that's absolutely okay that I don't have to look or I don't have to be a certain way all the time. So giving you a space to love yourself is what happens when you have a positive body image and positive self-esteem. Now, on the other hand, the downside of a negative self-esteem or maybe negative body image is again that can have an effect on our mental health. So if you have ideas such as I don't think I'm good enough, which I think a lot of us can have at some point in life. So and that can also affect our body image, which means that I don't like the way I look, there's something wrong with me. Somebody looks way better than me, which means that I don't look good. So those comparisons that come into play, that can have an effect on our mental health. So which means again that can have the idea that I'm not perfect, my life is a disaster, I feel so overwhelmed with so much information and so many negative thoughts. I don't have time to take care of myself because I'm so complicated in my head, and all of these thoughts are running in my head. So if you can see, self-esteem and body image, if they are on the negative side, they can also have an effect on our mental well-being. Now, if you can see, these can also play a very important role in development of hopelessness, helplessness, guilt, shame. All of these factors, which you see, play a very important role in development of mental disorders as well. So therefore, what we are trying to do through these activities is kind of, maybe break and pause, be aware, learn, accept. So these things are what we will be focusing on and basically breaking this negative cycle. So, Sachi, over to you.
So when we talk about building a healthy body image, that is a very important aspect because having a healthier body image means having a better relationship with your own body. And I think that is such an important relationship, the relationship that you have with your body. So now, over the years, we've had a lot of conversations, a lot of movements which have focused on accepting your body, loving your body. And while this is a very positive way of looking at it, a lot of times what happens is that sometimes we just tend to focus a lot on how we look. So even when I am trying to have a very positive way of saying things like, hey, you're beautiful the way you look. Now, of course, it's a very positive approach to the whole idea of accepting your body. But again, there's a lot of emphasis on how you look. And it's very important to remember that your body is not merely the way you look or the way you appear, or physical appearance is not the only aspect of your body. So there's another stance, which is the body neutrality stance, which sort of believes that, acceptance of your body based on the achievements of your body rather than the appearance of your body. So in the sense that when you're trying to sort of build this healthy relationship with your body, you also start focusing on the things that your body does and truly appreciating and cherishing your body for what it actually does, like sustaining you, nourishing you, keeping you going. The very fact that you're there listening to me, or I am talking, or just walking, literally every other thing is the result of your body doing its work. So it's important to really appreciate your body as a whole. So respecting and treating your body with respect is of paramount importance. So another exercise that I would really like to suggest over here is this is like it's a grounding exercise. So maybe the next time that you stand in front of the mirror, instead of focusing on like a specific part of your body, or you're just being like, oh, I think this is it on my nose, or hey, I wish my hair structure was like this, or just instead of focusing on a physical aspect of your body, try to look at this person standing in front. Try to not look at your body as merely an aspect of beauty, or like an aspect of your just a beauty appear, like just with with the notion of it being an aspect of your beauty, but really looking at it reflecting on what your body does. Like look at your hands or look at your legs and think about all the time that you're walking, you're running, the small tasks that you end up doing. So now, even when I say this at this point, it might seem really vague, but if you really go and reflect on it and think about it, the amount of things that your body actually does, the amount of work it's actually putting in. Second thing is to have a very so when you approach your body, try to have a more mindful approach, in the sense that try to develop a habit of listening to your body. We're all caught up in this fast-paced world where we're constantly running, jumping from one task to another, and there's just work all the time. We don't end up listening to our body or the needs of our body. Example, if it means just sitting down for like even 2 minutes or like 5 minutes every day and just like sitting, being mindful, just taking a deep breath, that is important. Giving yourself the space to maybe catch up on that sleep, do it. But like, just start making an effort to really love and respect your body for what it is. Now, it's very important to understand that when we talk about an unhealthy body image, a lot of times that really stems from things that we see on media, for example, or social media. You're scrolling through Instagram, and then you have these constant hashtags of like, this is the perfect body, or these are perfect features. So a lot of our ideas, again, in your environment, you could have a lot of toxic opinions coming in from maybe peers or family, and a lot of these contribute to a negative thought pattern. An example could be, I'm not good enough because, or I'm not pretty enough because I don't weigh a certain kind. So start becoming aware of these negative thought patterns. I think all of us at some point in our lives have experienced it, whether that's just you mindly, just scrolling through Instagram, or you were just having a conversation with someone, start becoming more aware of these negative thought patterns that you have and try to replace it with more healthier thought patterns. Realize this thing that your self-worth or you as a person is not just your body. You know, your body is of course a part of you, but not everything about you. So many times we place our entire self-worth, our entire value as an individual merely on how we look or merely on just an aspect of our body, and that is really unhealthy. So try to, you know, sort of change that focus or lift the focus from just how you look or how you appear to who you are as a person. You know, your qualities, your traits, your quirks, things that make you you, you know. So that is another aspect when it comes to challenging these negative thought patterns that we all have. Now we talk about eating well, balanced meals and exercise. Of course, it's important to take good care of yourself. We hear about these self-care notions. But remember, a lot of times what happens is that these ideas of self-care could be more directed in the sense that, okay, if you eat healthy or if you exercise, you lose weight. And, you know, when you lose weight, you're going to be pretty enough or you're going to look more amazing. That is not why you should be doing it. If you choose to eat healthy because that makes you feel good within, because that adds to your mental and physical well-being. Exercise because, hey, you felt good about doing it. Go for that run, that jog, or if you want to join the gym, do it because it makes you feel good mentally, physically, not because it would lead to a certain, you know, a future self, which is going to be pretty or more worthy. No, you are worthy where you are at this point in time. So learn to accept your body where you are at this point in time. Dress in a way that makes you feel good about yourself, instead of, you know, being in a space where you're like, hey, when I wear that outfit, when I lose weight, I'm going to be, you know, I'll be pretty or whatever it is, or it'll look prettier on me. Instead of that, come back to the present time, accept your body, wear whatever that makes you feel good, dress comfortably, do it for yourself, do it for your body, and not because of any sort of external validation. Third is surrounding yourself with positive friends and families. And I think this is really important because apart from the fact that social media constantly bombards us with a lot of information, wrong ideas and right ideas about, you know, the perfect body or this or that, we could also have a lot of individuals in our own environment who could be adding to it. So start, you know, surrounding yourself with people who truly cherish you, accept you, and like don't put you down merely because of a certain aspect of your body. Be aware of how you talk about your body with family and friends. So many times we end up not realizing that, you know, a lot of our negative thought patterns at some point can be very, like, you know, fleeting. You may not even realize it, that this is a negative thought pattern, but just try to sort of be aware of how you talk about your body to your friends and families. Sometimes that gives you a great idea about how you actually see yourself, and based on that you can actually work on you know, changing that thought pattern, working on it. Lastly is writing a list of positive benefits of body parts or features that you struggle to accept. Now, of course, even with all these points said, it's absolutely understandable that your relationship with your body is always going to be this space where some days you may not like something, some days you're going to be really accepting, and it's always going to be like this roller coaster of highs and lows. So even when you have these days when you may not feel great about something, it's okay, accept it, but try to make an effort, you know, like take steps to ensure that this is not affecting the way you perceive yourself, or this is not affecting your self-esteem. So become really aware of the fact that, hey, I may not be, you know, an example could be that, hey, I just had a breakout today, you know, and suddenly like an acne breakout, for example. And even though I understand acne is normal, but I've had this sudden breakout and I don't feel great about it right now. It's okay. But that does not make me any less worthy or, you know, as any less amazing as a person. That is just something that I've experienced right now. So these are like a few tips that you could keep in mind. But a very important fact over here is that sometimes we could be really struggling with our body image or with ideas, and this could be affecting your mental health. So at any point in time, if you feel that this is really affecting you, don't hesitate to seek out help from a mental health professional, because these are just tips that you could incorporate in your day-to-day life, something that can help you develop a more healthy relationship with your body. But if at any point in time you realize that you know, you're really struggling with your body image and it's affecting your mental health or your self-esteem, reach out to a mental health professional, and it's absolutely fine to do so. So over to you, Ruhi.
Okay. Just wanted to, add to what Sachi was talking about is be aware of how you talk about your own body. So I would like to share my own experience in that matter. Is that I am somebody who developed humor only as a defense mechanism against the entire idea that I used to not be okay with the way I look. And I think a lot of people still have that. And I have met a lot of people who kind of use humor and kind of put themselves down a lot of times before somebody else does. So I insult myself before anybody has to. So it just, talks about the fact that, okay, nobody will then enter my own space and I create this own boundary for myself. But in doing so, if you understand, you're actually putting your own body down and not respecting it. So even sometimes these defensive kind of patterns that we are not aware of might actually be leading to these mental health issues and these decrease in body image and even self-esteem. So this is just something that I wanted to touch upon. Moving on, so let's talk about something very important. Can everybody in the chat box just put down some comments that you might have heard about your body appearances? And I mean all of us have at some point of time, just put down these experiences which have been very weird, very critical, and you're just like, what? I don't need that right now. So um, our nosy relative kind of comments that have you got them, and we can share, we can be comfortable, talk about them, and we can see that so many people also experience that. Each and every person might have gone through some of these other comments. So in case if you can just put them in the chat box below and we can just click at them and see if we all have maybe faced them at some point or not. Okay. So I just see these tons of comments that are coming in, and these and if you see everything is around this ideal body standard that has been coming in society, right? This ideal standard, and just look at the magazines, okay? So basically what everybody is doing is just looking at the magazine and then looking at you. So they're looking at a Photoshop version of a magazine, which basically has tons of flashlights, tons of everything around. They have makeup on like 24 hours 7, basically, in the magazine. And they are looking at that. They're looking at somebody whose basically job is to become a model and look a certain type. And they're comparing it. They're comparing each and everything to you. They're comparing these things to with you, right? And if you can see body type, weight, looking too skinny, looking too fat, all of these things are conversations that have become, so part of each and everyday conversation that I think none of us are very surprised with this at all.
Hmm.
Right? This has become so normalized that "हाँ ठीक है मोटी हो गई है" has become like a very everyday kind of conversation now. Any relative that I meet is basically this conversation now. So
Hmm.
So if you can see, these stories are something, might not, might be just one comment, right? Might be just one statement, but it means so much to us. And that is why it is extremely important to be with positive people around. It is extremely important to know where you form boundaries with people, where you say, stop, this is not your place to speak about me. Say that whatever, even if that person is talking to you about it, shut your ears. Shut your ears internally. Don't take that comment. Don't allow somebody to comment about you. And if there is a point where you cannot do that, be kind to yourself. If others cannot be kind to you, we cannot control what everybody else will do in our environment. But we can do what we feel to ourselves. So be kind to yourselves, be compassionate to yourself. If somebody says something like this, know that that is not you. That is a very important thing. That is not you. So remove yourself from that person, remove yourself from that situation. And if we've seen these comments, I think we have maybe in some point in life, maybe not right now, maybe before, or maybe some other time later in life, we might also have, sometimes engaged in gossip or comments regarding someone that way. So the idea here is that when we know what it feels like to be hurt, when we know what it feels like to be commented on, we can also be kind to others as well. We can also show the same amount of compassion that we need and require to other people as well. So the idea here is being kind to yourself while looking at this, as well as being kind to others. I think there are a little bit more chats, so I'm just going to read them. Very good. So the idea here is that these chats are making me even open about the fact that, all of us at some point of time have heard these comments, right? And each and everybody has felt this low, weird feeling, and we just want to run away from that feeling, right? At that point of time, if somebody's making a comment, you just want to run away. You just want to shun out that entire person, and do that. Shun that person out from your life. Make a boundary, make a wall internally. Be kind to yourself is what, again, I'm going to keep on repeating, I think, throughout this entire session, is be kind to yourself, learn to be compassionate. And this will only happen. This kindness, this compassion that I'm talking about is only going to happen when you see yourself as more than that. When you see yourself as more than your body. And I think in the activity that we are going to do later, like next, which is super interesting activity, just hold on. We are just going to focus on that, being more aware about ourselves. So just going to quickly recap through some of the comments that we came up through. So there was a nosy relative who said, Beta, you have a very good face. Why don't you lose some weight? Later on, you would have marriage problems. Absolutely see no correlation in this, but I mean, obviously there's a nosy relative, so why not? Again, the idea of pimples, acne not being normal, abs banao, ladki pategi, all of these statements that we hear. Again, these were comments made by others, but even we make comments about ourselves, right? That, my friend is so muscular, look at me. Or I will never look good in the dress. Look at her stomach, it's so flat. She'll look amazing in a crop top. I'm going to just look like a big whale. So at this point of time, these comments we even make about ourselves, right? Moving on to this amazing photograph. I love this photograph. Okay, I'll just tell you why. Is because this is what is influencing us. All of these things that we are seeing in society every single day, and what Sachi was talking about, scrolling through your Instagram, look at any ad that we are seeing. They're trying to make us fit into this cultural appropriate scheme, now understanding that because they even want to sell that scheme. So at this point of time, beach body, going to the gym, fair and lovely. Again, if you see this comparison photo of Beyonce, I mean, Beyonce is a queen, but if you can see the idea of this Photoshop, I mean, I love the other picture as well. And the idea is that they are going to show us this Photoshopped picture of her, which is not the real her. So at this point of time, when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I just want to know where are my cheekbones. So at this point of time, if you can see, all of these influences are, and media is, straying us away from the idea of what our real authentic selves are. Again, the idea here is that, all of these are normal. Each and every body is healthy. Everybody should be loved. Each and every body, deserves that respect and love. I'm just going to keep on repeating it because this is what is absolutely necessary in these times. Loving yourself, accepting yourself, and I mean, look at God, right? Look at God. He's a God. And he doesn't need abs to be a God. So he doesn't need something to look very good. I mean, we all know Chris Hemsworth looked really hot in the start. But even when with his big belly, he's still Chris Hemsworth, guys. So at this point of time, your looks is just one part. You're still Chris Hemsworth. So if you can see, we are just more than that. And again, reiterating the fact again and again, going down and down. Now we'll start with this amazing little exercise, which Sachi is going to carry on with.
So, first of all, thank you so much, for really like sharing in your stories, and a lot of like love to each one of you. And I can understand this must be really difficult, experiencing it, but we also realize how widespread this is, body shaming, and this is something which really needs to change. So also, so moving on to like our activity, which is the walk challenge. So the idea of this activity is to lift to make you realize that you are more than just your body. Your body is a part of you, but you are way more than that. So this is like your safe space to really be as creative, to really embrace yourself with all your qualities, your traits, your quirks, things that make you stand out. So we had sort of mentioned that to keep a few pictures ready, pictures of you from some of your happy moments, and pictures where you're, looking very dorky, or like one of your happy memories, or, like different pictures. And the idea basically is to sort of have like a template which with your pictures on it, with where you probably can write in your qualities, things that make you stand out. You can probably write lyrics of your favorite songs that you go to when you're not feeling that great about yourself. Write things about something that makes you stand out, something that you love about yourself. So we'll give you like a rough idea of what this is. But before that, what you can do is we have another 5 minutes for this activity. So if you have the pictures in hand, maybe you could paste it on like a piece of paper, and then, we can just share it later on. Or the second thing is you can just start like open a Word document and just paste these pictures, maybe, write something that you love about yourself, something that makes you stand out. And again, we're not really, again, the focus is, we're lifting the focus from just your body. It's going to be focusing on you as a person, what really makes you stand out, what makes you feel good about yourself. So I'm going to show you like a rough template of what this looks like, and you're free to be as creative as you want. So this is one with Ruhee and me. Okay, so this is one, like your favorite memory, maybe. Like a candid, unfiltered picture where you're having a really good time. So one of your crazy moments. Another one where you had a really good time, or you just did something really quirky that, makes you stand out. And just one of those dorky pictures. So this is essentially what our idea is for this template. And we'd really love for you guys to, even if that's just one page, and maybe you could just share your screen, put up like one picture, something that you love about yourself. Anything that helps, So we'd really love you guys to participate. It's not compulsory, but so you can just open a Word document, maybe just put up a picture of yourself, or you could share in one of your favorite quotes, something you go back to. And once you're ready, maybe you could share your screen and just show it to us. Thank you so much for really, coming out, sharing your story, and lots of power to you, and for talking about your journey. And I'm sure, thank you so much for really sharing it. And another thing, again, as we're all sharing our stories here, I believe like all of us need to keep it within this space, respecting the fact that everyone's come out, shared their stories, shared a part of their life. So it'll be really nice if we keep it within this space. So lots of power and lots of love to everyone sharing in their stories. And we're really happy that, we could create that space for you to come out and share a piece of your life with us. So if we're good to go, maybe we move on to the next activity, and maybe towards the end, if we have time, we can have more stories and experiences. So.
What can I say? I'm just overwhelmed with these stories. They were so beautiful. I'm just, and for people who could not share their stories today, it is absolutely okay. Go back home, look at these memories, look at yourself, and embrace that. It takes a lot of courage for each and everybody who's spoken up today to speak about these things. And thank you for trusting us, and trusting this space. And as Sachi has mentioned, this is just the private space that we are going to talk about, so nothing outside this space. Moving on to another activity, which is absolutely one of my favorites. So as if we've been talking about, how we are more than our bodies. This is the small little activity that we've come up with, which is called as Be Your Own Knight in Shining Armor. Now, in this activity, what you're going to do is you are going to make a shield. Now, this shield is going to be all of your strengths that you can gather, and you can have the courage to gather each and every of your strength and look at yourself way more than maybe a beautiful face and a beautiful body, or a fat face, or whatever, beautiful eyes. Look at yourself way more than that and make your own shield. Now, this idea is that you can take a piece of paper, make a rough shield, okay, and or you can go fancy as you want, okay. Anything is possible. Okay. Okay, this is your own space. So write a list of your strengths and put them down in the chat box if you want to share them. Or maybe make a shield and we can share the screens again, or we can share the pictures. Anything is okay. Again, this is your own space to do your own thing. I'm just going to share my own shield right now, so we can get a little bit of idea about, what are our strengths and whatever we can look at. So at this point of time, I love stars, so that is my background, and this makes me look like a little bit like a superhero. So basically, this is my shield. Now you can do anything with the shield. You can make it your screensaver. You can look at it anytime. Make a poster out of it. Use it in your phones. Anytime you're not feeling good, again, go back to this. The idea is that being more aware of your qualities, again, the mindfulness aspect, all of these, kind of integrating these awarenesses into you, and then seeing yourself and being more kind to yourself, looking that you're actually worthy. So the idea is that creating that worth within your own self and being more compassionate. So we can take another maybe 5 minutes, come up with strengths, maybe put them in the chat box, or maybe make our own shields today. Okay, so we'll take another 5 minutes and then we'll share our screens. I'm just going to stop sharing, and we can put some of our strengths below in the chat box. So let's go ahead. That art painting is so beautiful. I am inspired to do something from all of you guys. I think I'm taking way more than anything I'm giving here. So thank you so much. Is there any other question? Thank you. Is there any other question that we have right now? Any moment to share anything?
Yes, again, if you do have questions which you may not be comfortable sharing it over here, you can reach out to us. So we'll like put in we'll just share in our contact details right now, so you all can message us and feel free to reach out to us. But if there's any feedback, anything else that you'd like to share, please go ahead. And
Sachi, are you addressing it?
How do you do with self-doubt?
yeah, okay. So again, I think a lot of self-doubt now depends on, again, how much is it really affecting you. So again, when I say this right now, if it's something which, number one, if you think it's really affecting you to a great extent, like it's really interfering with the way you're functioning, you're working, and you think it's affecting your mental health, like really severely, you should probably, maybe see a therapist or someone who could really guide you. Because again, a lot of times it's more, in the sense, of course, we could suggest a few things right now, but if you really think that it's something which is really affecting the way you work, you study, or whatever it is, it's absolutely fine to, seek out help, and, someone will really guide you to deal with it. But I think a few tips on self-doubt is like, a lot of it comes from having a negative thought pattern, right? Because our thought patterns is what is actually contributing to the way you look at yourself, the way you feel about yourself. So sometimes depends on what exactly is it. Like, try to challenge these doubts. It's very important to sometimes, if you have a doubt about I'm not good enough, so it's more like challenging it. Like, why do you think you're not good enough? So a lot of times we have so many thoughts that run across our mind throughout the day when it comes to different situations, but it's important to realize that this is just a thought and it's not a fact, right? You're just having a thought, and the thought is not equal to a fact. So maybe try to challenge this negative thought pattern. So every time, like an example, if you feel like, okay, I'm not good enough, why? So ask yourself, like, challenge that thought and ask yourself, why do you feel that you're not good enough? Secondly, again, if you feel that it's something about not feeling great about yourself, the most basic exercise could be maybe just sit down, write things that you really cherish about yourself, things that you love about yourself. Because again, all of us have our flaws and we have our strengths, but sometimes we get so focused on these flaws, constantly seeking some sort of perfection, because that's what's spoken about all the time, that we forget to appreciate the things that are strengths, or things that we really appreciate about ourselves. So maybe these are like a few basic tips that you could incorporate. But again, these are just tips. But if at all, anyone for that matter, that you feel that it's something that's really interfering with your day-to-day work, it's something that's really affecting your mental health, it's absolutely fine to seek out, therapy. Let's normalize the idea of, seeking help, because your mental health, your mental well-being is as important as your physical well-being. So that's just one thing. Ruhee, if you want to add to it, maybe,
I think you've covered pretty much everything, but maybe an extra thing is that when you're challenging yourself, also look at what are your other strengths, as Sachi has pointed out. So, for example, I am not good enough. What am I good at? Right? At the same time, you will come up with 10 things that you're good at. So then why do I think I'm not good enough? So at that point of time, you are creating evidence for that. So creating evidence is very important, because your mind will say, okay, I actually have evidence for that. So I'm thinking that way, like, what's wrong? So it will evaluate itself, and then negative thought pattern will be challenged. So this is some, extra thing.
Thank you for your answer.
Just adding on to that question, very often we're not able to focus on what we're good at, and then we go in, after self-doubt, we go into this phase of self-pity, which kind of leads to a state of hopelessness. So the question that I received was, how do you divert your thoughts in that particular direction to stay out of the phase of self-doubt, self-pity?
So the idea here is that, again, if this is something which is becoming more serious, understanding self-doubt is, everybody has self-doubt, but when it is moving on to a little bit more hopelessness, at that point of time, it might be a little bit of indicator where, you might need to seek help. Everybody has self-doubts about different things. So if I give you a very generic answer, it might not actually be very true to what you might actually want to know about. So in case, what I suggest is, in case, if there is something that is bothering you a lot, as Sachi has already said, go seek help. And I think you guys are already doing amazing work regarding with therapy, and I think you'll obviously inform the people about the same. So at this point of time, seeking help is very important. If you don't, if you at that space are not thinking that you might need help, maybe, what you can say, be a little bit more aware about what is leading to all of this and why you don't want to again seek help. So being more aware, I think, is something that will maybe give you into this space and will lead you into maybe understanding what I'm feeling is self-doubt, and then is that self-doubt leading to self-pity, and then, maybe just try out working on your self-doubt. And if that is not, then absolutely please, seeking help is one very important thing that I think both of us would encourage.
I have one more question. But why is it that we want to seek validation from other people? Like, why don't we get the confidence within ourselves that, I wouldn't say like perfect, but you tend to seek validation from another person, and you want explanation. Like, it's like what you want to hear that only. So then how do we come out of that? I mean, we should be open to everything, right? I mean, we should be able to take a negative as well as positive. So how do we work on that?
I think I'm just going to add a little bit of a point here before I think maybe Sachi can continue. The idea is that sometimes we are stuck in the idea of being perfect. And when somebody criticizes that idea, we kind of become very defensive. So I think maybe that's what you're saying, is that we might not be able to take that negative feedback or negative valuation, and we want that validation, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
at
yeah.
this point of time, the idea is that remove the perfectionism. Now that will take a lot of time, that will take a lot of work, but the idea is that do away with that idea of being perfect, because perfect is, there is no perfect. There is never a perfect. Even when you're looking at somebody who is perfect, there is no perfect. So at this point of time, doing away with that basic idea might be something that, we can start looking at, being more aware at. And maybe Sachi, if you want to add to something.
No, I
Yeah,
think that pretty much really, I think, explains like the whole idea of trying to be perfect. Because when you talk about validation, when you talk about, trying to be perfect, that's essentially what happens in social media too, right? Like you try to put in like the best, most aesthetically amazing picture, or like an absolutely pretty picture, because and constantly posting, or this sort of obsession that we end up having with likes, and that's again seeking validation, right? Because there's this constant need to have a picture perfect life which is in sync with what everyone says is perfect. But honestly, there's nothing like a perfect life, a perfect situation. And I think it's very important for us to sort of try to understand that, because we're constantly seeking the sense of perfection, which honestly does not exist. And while trying to seek it, there's this need to, be like, oh, if I get there, that's when, people are going to like me, or people are going to look up to me, or people are going to, like me more, appreciate me more. So I think it's more about trying to understand that there is no like a sense of perfection as such, but really trying to understand yourself, accepting yourself, because a lot of this validation also comes when you're not completely accepting yourself for who you are. So you go out and you're trying to seek this acceptance from people around you. So try to again go back based on the session, sort of go back to yourself and really try to work on acceptance of yourself as a person. And I think, yeah, just
Thank you so much. Thank you.
For your question. Okay, in case we have any more questions, any more feedback, you can email us. You can, I think Sachi is going to quickly just talk about all of this.
so again, we are really so you could send us an email if you want any questions related, absolutely fine, reach us on our email ID. We also have put out a lot of podcasts, and we have the podcast link on our Instagram page, and we talk about a lot of different concepts related to mental health. And we're really active on Instagram because we're constantly talking about various mental disorders, how you can be a better mental health ally to people around you. We try to break these disorders into more simpler concepts so you understand it better. So definitely go and give it a check. And any questions, we'd be more than happy to address it. So just like DM us or maybe send us an email. And thank you so much for really just being here today, sharing your stories, for your participation. And we really appreciate that you trusted this space and came out and shared your stories. And thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you so much for coming. In fact, we thought this was just going to be another interactive session, but you made this a safe space where all of us could share our experiences, what we've been through, make us more open-minded to the idea of therapy. And all our lives, we've been told that appearances are everything. Your first impression is your last impression. But this kind of reminded me of a song that I heard, that you're never fully dressed without a smile. And as long as you're smiling, that's the strongest part of your appearance. So being happy with yourself is all that matters. And that's something that all of us are honestly taking back from this. So thank you so much. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Rotaract Club and every other collaborating Rotaract Club. We request you to kindly accept a memento, a token of our appreciation, which should be reaching you shortly. And
Thank you.
just so that you all know, we realize that just raising awareness is not enough. So we're also trying to make therapy reach the underprivileged. Unfortunately, getting mental help in this country these days is a privilege while it should be a necessity. So we have currently raised about 2.78 lakh, and we're hoping to raise more. My friend Avishi, I think, will be putting up a donation link in the chat box soon. We're hoping you all can help us contribute and raise more funds for this initiative, so that we've tied up with NGOs who are identifying people in need of therapy, and we will be funding these therapy sessions for them. So open your hearts out. And now, to take you through the rest of the evening, I'd like to hand it over to my friend, Contractor Shib Kapadia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.